What it do, what it do, what it do? Welcome back to the channel, baby.
Yeah.
What it do, what it do, what it do, Half and J family. Welcome back to the channel, baby.
Yes.
It's your boy Half.
And your girl Jay.
And we back
with another reaction video.
All right, y'all. So happy today.
Happy today, yes.
Hope everybody enjoying y'all day today. We got a couple videos out there, y'all. So y'all haven't got a chance to check them out, go check them out. Who cares how long they are? We didn't ask y'all about how long they are, okay? Just go check them out, you know what I'm saying? We had a lot to talk about.
Man,
You know what
I
I'm saying?
did.
We had a lot to talk about.
I guess I've just been holding it in.
Yeah.
I had to let it out.
Yeah. This time it's not me.
Yeah,
Y'all
I
always
talked
talk about
a
I
whole
talk a
lot.
lot, so.
I did talk a
I'm
lot.
gonna stop talking so much too, y'all, because I've been hearing a lot of you people say I talk too much.
Oh, baby.
So I'm sorry.
If you don't quit.
So anyway, we're about to get into some more reactions. What are we going to react to today, baby?
We are reacting to the current crisis of masculinity. Talking by Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro.
Cool. All right, so we're about to see what this is talking about. Masculinity. I think it needs to be talked about sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I feel like there's a lack of that going around.
Okay.
You know? But anyway, let's jump right into it. But before we do, everybody that's out there who has not yet subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
Yes.
Turn your post notifications on.
Yes.
Like and share this video.
Yes.
And comment down below, baby. Come and join the squad, man, Half and J.
Yes.
We over here kicking off. What?
Good
Good vibes,
vibes,
baby.
baby.
Good vibes.
Boom.
Boom.
Oh, okay.
Little delay.
Okay. I
And
see.
then right after yours, though.
Okay.
So, Jordan, obviously this new series, Dragons, Monsters, Men, the first one that we're doing together, this series is focused in on how men can be men. Why do you think there is such a crisis of masculinity in the first place, and why are there so many people out there who are angry at you for even talking to men?
Well, I think you could think about it as a consequence, in some sense, of the lack of a concept of original sin, oddly enough. I mean, people bear an existential burden, you know. It's an intrinsic part of life to, I suppose, to feel guilty in relationship to nature and to feel guilty in relationship to culture. You know, it's difficult for us to live in harmony with the natural world, and for the natural world to live in harmony with us, by the way. And none of us are all we could be on the social front. And one of the consequences, and so we have that sense intrinsically, you know, that there's a lack in us that needs to be redressed. And unfortunately, that can be weaponized, and has been. And what I see happening to young men in particular, boys as well, not just young men, and maybe even, you know, maybe starting at the age of toddlers, is that we have this sense in the world that human beings live in antagonism to nature and that we're actually a malevolent force. And that our social structures, which are clearly capable of the commission of atrocity, are fundamentally oppressive, patriarchal in their nature. And so then if you're a male in a society with that ethos, the motive force that drives you into the world to live is associated with rapaciousness and despoilation on the natural front, and then oppression and atrocity on the social front. It's like, well then, if you're the least bit conscientious, because this sort of accusation hurts conscientious young men the most, then the best you can do is, well, let's say castrate yourself. How would that be? And that would be real comical, except that it's also happening. So I guess that's why I think there's a crisis. And there's something serious at the root of it, right? Because we do have to take the fact of the potential damage we can do to the natural world and the social world. We have to take that seriously, but the proper consequence of taking that seriously is not to commit harikiri, let's say, in a fit of moral anxiety and take yourself completely out of the game. But that's the insistence now, and it's really, and I see that psychoanalytically, you know, I see that as a manifestation at a symbolic level of something like, well, symbolically, that's associated with the devouring mother, right? It's an overweening and destructive false compassion that has this devouring quality. And yeah, and that's basically where we're at. So
you know, it's one of the things that's striking about the sort of hatred that you've gotten from so many is that you've literally been asked why you're even bothering to speak to men. I mean, there is this crisis of masculinity, right? There is this idea that every form of masculinity is toxic, and you've spent your life trying to talk to men and say, no, you can channel that masculinity in not only a good way, but a necessary and productive and useful way. And people gotten angry at you for this. Where do you think that's coming from? Why? That's obviously a good thing that you're doing. Why are so many people upset with you for that?
Well, the thing is, I never really set out to talk to men specifically, but I did set out, at least in part, to make a case for the utility of both the feminine and the masculine spirit, and it turned out that making the case for the masculine spirit was something that was more demanded by the culture, let's say. The anger, that's a complicated issue. We touched on some of it in relationship to the despoiling of nature and the idea of the oppressive and atrocity committing patriarchy. But then there's another issue too, which I think is germane. Because of family fragmentation, there's a very large number of women who have, just like there's a very large number of men who have never had a real word of encouragement in their whole life. It's a really sad thing to see. It's a really, really sad thing to see that deeply and to have seen that reflected in so many thousands of people. But there are many women who've never had a positive relationship with anyone male in their life. And so one of the consequences of that, we know, for example, that younger women are more likely to be attracted to men who show dark triad traits, narcissistic, Machiavellian, and psychopathic. And people who have those traits are characterized by the mimicry of competence. And so what women want in men more than anything else is competent generosity, and the data on that are very clear. But you can mimic that if you're narcissistic, and if you're a young woman, you can be deluded by that. It's partly because it points to the problem of dissociating competent confidence from the expression of power per se. So we could call power, I'll define that as the willingness and ability to use compulsion to attain your aims. Now, if you are someone who has a proclivity to manifest power, then that looks like the manifestation of both ambition and will. And if you haven't had a positive relationship with anyone masculine in your life, and maybe with not even with your own internal masculinity, say, you can't discriminate between power and the ambition that serves competence. And so because that's terrifying, because the power, if you have had only negative relationships with men, their capability to use power becomes such a threat that it has to be opposed at all costs, even if it manifests itself within the developmental pathway of your own son. And so some of that's familial breakdown, and then you have a multi-generational pattern of that, and that makes it even worse. And so that's definitely part of it. You know, there's an ideological drum that's being beaten constantly, both on the sociological constructivist front, right? That's the oppressive patriarchy, and then on the environmental front. And then you add to that the fact that, well, on the leftists, especially the radical types, their whole damn doctrine, it's the most pathological doctrine you could invent if you set out to invent a pathological doctrine. And I mean that, I'm not making a joke. I really mean that in the deepest possible sense. The notion that the fundamental human motivation is the willingness and ability to use compulsion, power. It's all about power. And every time I hear that now from someone, I think, that is not a sociological observation. That is a confession on your part. And it's also just complete bloody nonsense. I mean, you all know this. You have friends because they're compelled to be your friends? Like, that's definitely not how you have friends. You might have bully henchmen that way, but you don't have friends. power is an extraordinarily unstable basis to establish a marriage on. Plus, it just doesn't work because it turns out that women who are so annoying are very difficult to oppress, you know. So you can try, but it's not that easy. And I don't think that we've been all that historically successful in doing so. But it's also a preposterous proposition because the expression of power within an intimate relationship does not produce intimacy or a relationship. Right. The best it can produce is like a combination of tyranny and slavery, and that does not characterize the institution of marriage per se. So there is this insistence among the radicals that power is the fundamental motivation, and then you think too, okay, you're only motivated by power. That means that we can only get along if our interests align, because if you're motivated by power and I'm motivated by power and our interests don't align, and there's nothing else but power, then the only option I have is to turn you into an enemy and try to destroy you, because we can't engage in dialogue. That's dialogos. And the reason we can't engage in dialogue is because there's no logos. There's just power. So there's no such... This is why it's a good thing for conservatives to understand. You have to understand that the debate about free speech on campus, in the deepest sense, is not a debate about who should be allowed to speak freely. That's nothing. That's a trivial debate. You can even understand it in some sense. If I don't agree with you, maybe I don't want you to talk. But the debate is about something much deeper, which is whether or not the idea of free speech itself is just a mask developed essentially by Europeans to justify the oppressive patriarchy in the most devious possible way. And the answer the radicals have to that question is yes, that's exactly what it is. And so there's no free speech whatsoever. That's an illusion that's promulgated by people who are only trying to justify their claim to power. That's what the bloody argument is about. And I just think all of that's, it's wrong in every way. It's wrong theologically, it's wrong psychologically, it's wrong scientifically. Even chimpanzees who have a patriarchal social structure, their social structures, if they are based on power, on compulsion, they're unstable, and the alpha chimps who use power are very likely to meet an extraordinarily brutal and premature end. So Frans de Waal, the Dutch primatologist, has detailed out this wonderfully. He's shown that even among our closest biological relatives, it's the ability to make peace and to engage in reciprocal interactions that constitutes the basis for a stable polity, even among chimps. And it's odd.
What did he just say?
You know what? Look, I'm really trying to grasp it. We gotta rewind that song.
I just had to say that though. Like, what the hell did he just say? You gotta love Jordan Peterson, boy. I'm telling you, he'll make you want to step your game all the way up.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, all the way up.
If I tried to debate with him, oh, just the thought of that scares me.
Right. He'll shut you down quick, though. Oh, is that right? Well, and you be like, well, damn.
Right.
You just start walking into the room. Like, just go into the room.
Right.
You gonna sit down somewhere.
I wouldn't even dare.
Right, mind my business. Damn.
relatives. It's the ability to make peace and to engage in reciprocal interactions that constitutes the basis for a stable polity, even among chimps.
Okay.
And it's obviously the case that that's
Okay.
the proper basis for social relations, especially among free people.
Right.
And I've been trying to puzzle out, especially in my lecture tour recently, what the antithesis to power is, or to the will to power, let's say, in terms of arbitrary compulsion. And it's something like the spirit of free and voluntary play.
I feel the same way.
And that's a wonderful thing to know. It's so optimistic. You guys were talking about optimism earlier, you know. So imagine this, is that if you structure your relations optimally, and I mean optimally, with yourself, with your intimate partner, with your family, with your community, the highest level of attainment of that structuring is the manifestation of the spirit of voluntary play. And that's so lovely because there's nothing better than playing, fundamentally. And you know, human beings and other mammals as well also have a biological circuit that mediates play. That was discovered by a man named Patton Ca, and he showed that play is unbelievably important to the development of children for a variety of complicated reasons, partly because they're practicing to be competent adults, but also that it can be suppressed by almost any other emotion or motivation. So your kids can't really play if they're hungry or tired or wet or upset. The same would apply within your relationship. If there's stresses and tensions, the play disappears. But if you optimize the relationship and the circumstance, then the spirit of play can manifest itself. And I would also say that's also the fundamental purpose of fathers in some sense, is to imagine that paradise, that's a walled garden, that's what paradise means. So it's walls, structure, and then the garden inside is nature, and a nature that's tended. The masculine role in child rearing is something like the erection of the walls so that play can manifest itself within the walls. And that's a real good combination of security, because that's what the walls are for, but then the kind of freedom that allows for untrammeled development to occur in the most positive possible sense. And so I would say that those of us who are standing against the radicals who insist that the only human motivation is power can oppose that in part by putting forward the observation that the proper antithesis to that is the spirit of voluntary play. And that's what I hope we're going to do with the Daily Wire.
I feel the same exact way. You know what I'm saying? He hit it on the nose, though. I couldn't say it much no better myself. He was thinking exactly what I was thinking.
I need to get a dictionary and just read every word in the dictionary and the definition,
Absolutely.
because I thought I heard him say germane. And what is it? But I don't know what that means. Or did he say that?
I thought he said half.
You know?
You know what I'm saying?
But
Jamie,
he's like, even though he's using the big words, you can kind of like understand what he's saying.
right, you can put the
It's like foreign to us.
right, you can put it together, but you know what I mean? But
We need a translator for real.
He was
Like
talking
dumb
a
this
different
down
language.
dumb this down for us really good, because
please, because but he was on point.
right.
He was on point.
He had the audience laughing and everything. He
Yeah.
had us laughing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so what are your thoughts?
You trying to be funny?
Just
you trying to be funny, yeah. Okay. Well, my thoughts is Jordan Peterson is very intelligent. He knows what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He's very articulate. I think masculinity in the world today, as we live in today.
Do you feel that it's like some men are just all about power, like
Absolutely.
you're saying?
Absolutely. There's a lot of men that's like that, about power. I know somebody, you know, used to be a manager of mine. You know, he was like that, like power. Like once he got that title, it was a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He wasn't who he was before he got the title.
Okay.
'Cause we was real cool
Mm-hmm.
before he got the title.
Mm-hmm.
When he got the title, totally different person.
Really?
Oh yeah, I know that from a personal experience though.
Mm-hmm.
So like, he felt like that was his masculinity, was the power that he has, that he possessed now within that title.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I can tell you now what to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I can fire you if I want to. I can send you home if I want to.
Mm-hmm.
You look at me the wrong way, if I feel like you got an attitude with me, I can write you up. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? He has that power now. So
Mm-hmm.
he felt strong. He felt masculine.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause before then, he was feeling like he was 4 feet 2. You know what I'm saying? No pun intended.
Jordan Peterson, he definitely gets life. Like he really, really does.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish he could dumb it down a little bit more for me, to where I can get it, or I just step my game up with my vocabulary, because he was saying a lot of things that I did not understand. I feel a lot of men do use power as their masculinity, and some people even, you know, take that power and abuse it sometimes with, you know, with girls, with, you know, with women or children sometimes. That just having that control over the younger girls, like the R. Kelly situation and the guy the Harvey Weinstein. I feel that they abused their power. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I know I went way off topic, but it just came to my mind. Like with power, I felt like they abused their power, and they hurt a lot of people from that.
Right. Right.
I don't know. What I really don't understand what. I really don't understand masculinity. Like what defines a man, and you know how do we define men and women? You know what I'm saying?
I think me personally, masculinity is just a man going about his business every day, one foot in front of the other, taking care of his business. That's what I feel masculinity is. I don't think it's no certain position that you gotta be in, certain titles you gotta have, that you gotta possess, certain level of a job, or a certain amount of money that you're making, kind of car you drive, how. I don't think it has nothing to do with none of that. I think it has to do with the way you go about your business. You put one foot in the other, you go to work every day, you put your hard hat on, and you take care of your business. You know what I'm saying? You handle your responsibilities, you man up, you own up, you know what I'm saying, to the shit you have done. You know what I'm saying? Like just normal type of shit. Just
provide, protect, and take care of your family.
Exactly.
And yourself.
That's to me that's masculinity.
That's masculinity.
You know? Ain't gotta do all that other stuff. So that's just my personal opinion.
So you don't need a high powered position to be a man.
You can be the janitor at McDonald's.
As long as
you're going to work every day, you
doing
providing, doing what you can to provide for your family, putting the food on the table, closing your kids back if you got kids. You know what I'm saying? You being respectful to others.
And a protector.
Yeah, of course, and a protector. It don't matter. You know what I'm saying? You you be the janitor at McDonald's. You know, to me, you looked at the same way. You looked at as a man to me. So I don't care what kind of job you got. So.
Right.
You know, I was the guy that was on the corner literally waving a Halloween sign in a Halloween costume because I had to. So ain't no shame in my game, so I don't ever knock anybody that's working at any job that they do.
Right.
As long as they out there getting it, that's all that matters to me.
Exactly.
Straight up.
Right.
So, but anyway, we about to get into some shout outs.
Yes.
We've been having an hour-long video.
Right. We've been holding all this in, huh? First shout out goes to Backward Crossover. What's up, Backward Crossover?
Backward Crossover. I would like to see that on the court. But shout out to you though, man. Hope you enjoyed that reaction.
Yes.
And come back and join us for some more.
Yes. Second shout out goes to C. Russ. What's up, C. Russ?
C. Russ, what's going on with your champ? Shout out to you. Hope you enjoyed that reaction as well. And hope you come back and join us for some more.
Yes. Come back, y'all.
All right, we out this thing?
We out this thing.
All right, we going, y'all.
Yes.
Peace.